All right, check, check, check. Hope y'all listening. Hope y'all here. Freak, man. Running late, true to form. It wouldn't be outside the clutch or me if I did anything on time. Tonight we're gonna have a special one. This is a dude I connected with right away. I really enjoy his energy and his vibe, and we both share a passion for, well, I would say large snakes, him more so semi-large snakes, but large snakes. What's up? What's up? CRM Reptiles. They showed up like way early this morning and said what's up. 6 o'clock this morning, in fact. Lance, what it do, man? Thanks for stopping in. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. So I want to jump on some stuff before we bring the man of the hour in. We vended Arlington, which was great. I absolutely loved it. It scared the crap out of me. We got a table last second and we decided to push it, do our chance. And man, I can't tell you, if you have a chance to vend an NARBC or get on someone's table or just like work behind someone's table, I cannot tell you the amount of positive reinforcement I got from it. I could not tell you the amount of just understanding I got from it. Working a table with that many people running through the aisles, I can only imagine like a St. Louis or a Tinley, which is obviously a much bigger venue. But Arlington is in the books. We did just over 4K in sales, so pretty happy about that. Obviously, some of that stuff wasn't just mine. I have a lot of partners here, so some of it was commission stuff, but super happy about it. That's one of the things I love to do is just like work business together with the people around me. We're all coming up together. And I think that's the way it should be, much like our guy tonight does. The other thing was, if you guys didn't know, Ryan McVeigh, who is one of our sponsors from VivTech, he got in a really bad wreck. Luckily, him and everyone in the vehicle was fine. The vehicle was totaled. We're working on a way to help pay to get him home. So I didn't get it in the links yet, but down below, I'm going to put the link for the GoFundMe just because it is my sponsor. I want to do all I can for Ryan. He's like family, and he's the first one that took a chance on us. So anything we could do to help him right now to get a vehicle back under him and all that. He's been running coastline to coastline to do shows for VivTech, and it's just been really hard on him. He's been pushing a little hard. So we're all kind of saying, hey, heal, take it slow, ease back into it. You don't always have to be 100% all the time. Sometimes it's okay to take a break. With that being said, the main focus that I do is my husbandry, and we were talking about our sponsors, so I think we should just kind of run those sponsor ads right now. Here at Outside the Clutch, we're honored to be sponsored by VivTech. Are you ready for innovation? Tired of the same boring product that's been used for 30 years? Ready to give your reptiles and amphibians the UV they really deserve? Then look no farther than VivTech. Their 3-watt LED bulbs provide the UV rays your animals have been missing. With 3 bulbs to fit your pet's climate needs, plus a dimmable feature, it's the only bulbs we use for UV. And it's the only bulb with a 2-year warranty in the industry. Plus now you can monitor all your pet's husbandry from your phone 24/7 with their sensors and even ship your customers' animals in their custom bags. So what are you waiting for? Go to VivTechProducts.com today, use code FCLUTCH0322 for 15% off, and provide your animals the best care they've ever had. And if you look right behind me, right there, so I keep all my stuff on ReptiChip unless it's in quarantine. I love ReptiChip. I've always been a huge promoter of JT, and he decided to sponsor us as well. So, you got to go get that ReptiChip. Are you ready for the best coconut substrate in the game? Then you got to get ReptiChip. First off, it's America's chip because it's veteran owned. Secondly, why wouldn't you want the best cocoa chip for your animals? Go to reptichip.com, use code FeelyChippin for 10% off 2 breeder blocks, or reach out to me as a local representative in the El Paso area. And don't forget to join the Reptilution, where all profits go to helping those in need within the reptile community. All right, very last one. I know we're running like long sponsor ads right now. What are you doing? These guys got to be like paying out the for you right now. No, it's not. It's actually not the case, and I'm happy to say that this is all self-funded. Pretty happy about that. This is a passion project. Not saying I'm not looking for other sponsors, but last sponsor, Show Me Snake Shows. I freaking love Mickey's attitude. I love the way he pushes. Dude puts on like 2-3 shows a week. In fact, next weekend, while most people are at Tinley, I can't go to Tinley. Boo hoo. Too bad. I'm going to be out in Odessa for the very first Show Me Snake show in Odessa, Texas. We're trying to grow the local area. And I told him, hey, no matter what, I'm going to be there. So, you know, you have at least one vendor, even if it's just me. I'm good with that. Whatever happens, happens. But make sure you check out showmesnakes.com, find the local shows to you and check them out. Now, without further ado, I've made this man wait for a whole 6 minutes and we were already late to you. So we've made you guys wait even longer. So without further ado, I'm going to bring the man from, what is it? The Retic Lounge. Well, one of the men from the Retic Lounge and from Katz Reptiles, Mr. Nathan Katz.
Hey, man.
What's going on, brother?
Not a whole lot. I mean, I've had a pretty busy day, but it's been a great one. So just chilling, excited for this.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I feel that, man. I feel that. So you guys, give you a little backstory there. I actually had a valid reason for being late this time. Of all the times that I'm late, I actually had a valid reason. I have one retic, and that one retic decided to take a massive dookie, as retics do. I can't even do this. Right there in the corner. Right in the corner where you guys would be staring at it the whole time and be like, all right, I can't run a podcast, especially not a video podcast with a giant poop, because I'm not going to pay attention to Nathan. I'm going to pay attention to that the whole time.
Smell it the whole time.
I mean, it's the smell, man. You smell it either way, but I could deal with the smell. As bad as that sounds, like it's not stuff that I smelled in the military, so I can get over any snake poop, like regardless of what it is. You know what I mean? Like I've smelled a lot worse in my life. Hopefully, never again.
Absolutely.
But, yeah, man. So what got you started in reptiles specifically, and then what brought you to the species that you decided to work with?
So I was always kind of curious with reptiles growing up. I think the first reptile we ever had in the house was my older brother and I got a couple of import iguanas, I'm guessing, back in the late 90s. Okay. I'm guessing strictly reptiles, iguanas, and, you know, they lasted a couple years and then just kind of died off. And then I had a turtle for a few years. That was kind of fun. And then, you know, I was always interested in snakes, but the parents weren't about to have a snake come into their house. So that was always one of those things. It was tattoos and snakes. You can do that, but once you're under another roof.
Well, so I got to ask this question. Being where you're from, have you always lived in that area, or is that just since your adult life?
No, all 30 years I've grown up here in Salt Lake City, Utah. So everyone knows this is Mormon Mecca. So yeah, it's a.
Did you grow up Mormon or?
No, I'm the token half Jewish, half Christian kid in the neighborhood. So yeah,
very, very different. Very different. There you go. No, but there's a lot of I think that's hard to do, especially in kind of like a very religious area.
Mm-hmm.
Anything to do with serpents obviously is always frowned upon. It's one of the things that I've really had to work with my family. They are all neighbors. Southern Baptist or non-denominational, so serpent signifies nothing but evil.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you kind of overcome that there?
I mean, I wouldn't say totally overcome it. I have neighbors that are still terrified the fact that I keep and breed snakes. I've had one neighbor that ended up calling animal control on me a few times, saying that we had alligators swimming in a kiddie pool out in the front yard. So, you know, but we're really lucky. I'm really good friends with the lead of animal control out here in Salt Lake. He's also a snake breeder, garter snake breeder. Brian Cusco's actually had him on a spotlight once. So yeah, really cool guy.
There's a really big is it a reptile store or like a reptarium type thing out in Salt Lake too as well, isn't there?
I know Barcheck has come out to Sequest a couple times, but that's just
Maybe
kind of
that's
like
what I'm thinking of is
it's just like
Sequest.
a
They got like a bunch of
small,
animals.
yeah, it's like a small mall aquarium. It's nothing special. I haven't even cared to go up and visit, but we have Clint's Reptiles. We have a world class aquarium, Loveland aquarium that I go out to quite a bit. But yeah, nothing strictly reptiles besides maybe Clint's.
Okay. And what made you decide of all things? So it was it like a well, I couldn't have one, so I'm just gonna go for the biggest that I can have? Or what made you
No,
choose Retics? And then
yeah,
what made you look at specifically dwarf and super dwarf locality Retics?
yeah. I would say Retix would probably be the last thing I thought I would ever get into. Uh, so I'd always been interested, but shortly after high school, I had a friend who had just ball pythons, and then he ended up getting a Burmese python. And then once the Burmese python started to get some size, and that was really what he was focusing on and giving all his love to, he gave me the other two ball pythons that he had. So that's where it really started. And, that just leads you down the rabbit hole. So he got me into bar check and watched, days and days worth of his videos. Uh, that's probably where I first learned about uh, super dwarfs. That same buddy of mine who had the Burmese had always talked about wanting to get a retic, but he had always talked about them almost as like the old school wild caught, piss on you, shit on you, bite you kind of retic.
Right.
But uh, so that was my first impression. I was like, I don't ever get one of those. I'll never get one of those, that kind of thing. But uh, I ended up seeing some of Barcheck's videos on the super dwarfs, not really seeing what the size could be through those videos. And then I ended up running into Richard Bilbo and a buddy of mine, Aspen Mahan, at a local reptile show up here. Aspen's not as known as,
Richard. I've never heard
yeah.
of Aspen before.
Aspen's a little bit more low key. He's more of a herper. He likes to do really beautiful photography out in the wild and stuff. So, but Richard, he's my like day one mentor. He was showing me his dwarfs at the show. He let me see some of his baby dwarfs and kind of led me in the right direction as far as keeping the smallest retic that I could find at the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what locality did you start with?
So I have no pure localities at this point. I did that a little bit backwards, but I think at the time there wasn't as much information out there about all the localities. So right now, all of my snakes are high percentage Kalatoa. My two females that I'm working with breeding, they're both 75% Kalatoa and 12.5% Champea. Both about 9 foot. One's maybe a 9.5.
Okay, and those are how many generations out of the wild are those? Do you know?
Ooh.
Are you looking
I
at
would
like
have to ask.
F4, F5, or
Probably close to that. Yeah, I know it goes at least 3 or 4 generations. I was talking to Eric Lee last night because he's who I got my first retic from, the purple albino that's on the thumbnail for tonight. And she goes back to Retic stock and some of the prehistoric stock. So, there's at least 3 generations there.
okay. What made you decide of all things, like when you jumped into retics, was it a plan to breed them, or was it just okay, well, let me test the waters?
It was love on first sight. When Richard had his snakes out at the show, I mean, anyone who's met Richard knows he just treats his animals differently. He treats them like a child or something like that. He's really up close and personal with them, and they're usually really, really chill. So, getting to hold a really just chill retic and then getting to feel the scalation, just see how different it was from the ball pythons or the boa that I had at the time. And, it was something I was losing sleep over. I just had to have it.
All right. I don't blame you. Like honestly, so my fascination started with Garrett. And this is, I want to say it was 17 or 18. It was like right when he decided to go and try to make it full time with strictly super dwarfs. Um, and so I talked to him because I grew up with one of his employees, and
Which one?
Kim.
Okay.
Yeah. So me and Kim, we go back to like freshman year of high school. I'm not going to date us because that's a little bit longer than I'd like to say now, but yeah. So I was talking to her and was like, "Hey, I really like retics. I don't know anyone to really talk to me about them besides you."
hmm
And she's like, "Well, reach out to Garrett. I'll put in a good word for you, and you can start talking." And then I ended up going to Pomona like two months probably after I talked to Garrett, and obviously being there, I was like, "Well, prehistoric pets is right here. I can get my hands on retics, right?" Because what I was looking for, it still hasn't been made in. I think it's in Dwarf now, the pieds, but I don't think it's even close to Super Dwarf yet. Um,
Eric Lee's working on it for you. Yeah, he's got some good stuff
I'm
in the
waiting
works.
very impatiently over the last 6 years.
Yeah, he's got some good stuff coming.
But yeah, man. So I went to prehistoric, and like that was one of my first real big videos. Was like me and my wife trying to hold this. I'm gonna butcher it. Probably like a 16-foot retic that weighed way. We'll be honest, way too much. But
It's no secret at this point.
yeah,
Yeah, we don't
it's
need to
no
tiptoe
secret.
around it.
Yeah, if it's over there, it's being mass fed to get it on eggs and be a sight show at this point.
Yep, good
Um,
views.
right. But so I did that. I
Unfortunately.
got my first musk in flip flops and smelled like musk for the 12-hour ride home, which was great, freaking phenomenal. But that's where I got my first presents, and I think it's really funny how a lot of people fall in love with the species as soon as they get their hands on it, regardless of the temperament, man.
hmm
I
Yeah,
think
that's true.
retics are one of those you have to actually get hands on.
I think retics were big for me because just my hesitation with working with reptiles in general, they kind of force you through that. There's no being nervous or on edge with working with an adult retic. If you're putting yourself in that position, then you're putting yourself in a dangerous spot.
Right.
So
With
yeah, I mean they help you grow through it if you're willing to work with them.
So what would you say? And I asked the same thing to Garrett a month ago, but
hmm
what would you say for someone looking to work with retics? What first and foremost, like what would your advice be for them?
Well, first, I would want to know your history in reptiles. I mean, that's just fair, like I need to know what you've worked with. If you haven't worked with anything before, then do your research and do a lot of it. Like I want to be confident, especially now that I'm looking at selling my own babies. I sold all my babies from my first clutch through Garrett. But now that I'm going to start taking some of that over, I want to be confident that these animals are going to make it past 10 years. I want to make sure that people are loving on these things and not just passing them down. I want them to, really know where all of these animals came from, where the parents came from, the grandparents came from, that kind of thing. So there's a little bit more value there. So, hopefully we don't see what has happened with retics too often is they're just kind of disposable animals and we can't treat them like that.
Well, that's one of the things that I think you guys were saying it on your podcast, which we'll get to in a little bit, but it's it's a little frightening if you think about it. Retics are kind of mass produced, and we often do not see very many adults in collections anymore, and you don't see adults from animals that generally will live 20, 30 plus years.
Hell, I can't find clutchmate pictures from some of my animals. I have a 4.5-year-old tiger. I don't know where any of her sisters, brothers are.
mm,
I've asked around.
mm. That's rough, man. Like I think with all reptiles, obviously, because of the long lifeline, or I said that backwards, but you know what I meant.
Mm-hmm.
With how long their life can be, I think that's something that we need to do better at. So, what are you doing as measures to kind of vet somebody before you'd be willing to let an animal go?
It's hard to say since I haven't done that process quite yet. But like I said, go through at least some of their history, get some background on the individual. I want to know how old you are, what kind of situation you have, if you have the caging for the animal. Because I've seen people who get super dwarfs and just start housing them in you know Rubbermaid tubs, and that's okay for maybe a temporary enclosure or like a quarantine setup, something like that. But we really need to be doing more. I mean, when it comes down to it, these are like images and things that can be used against us in the hobby.
Right.
I don't want to see my snakes shoved in tiny containers just because someone's trying to save a buck.
100%. I feel you on that one.
Yeah.
Um,
So that would be big. Just make sure they have the proper enclosure. Uh, just get a feel for the person. It takes a lot to take care of a retic. You need to be cleaning up their pee and poo quite frequently throughout the week. Um, it just takes a lot of
speaking
dedication.
of, speaking of, she just blessed me again.
Yeah, I mean,
That's why I smiled and looked back. I got a big old whiff of it right now.
yeah, I'm sure I'll get some of that too. I was telling John before we got on tonight that I had a retic pee and flutter cage and took almost a full paper towel roll to sop it all up. It's the second time this week that it's happened. So I thought
Just
I was
be
going to be
empty.
late, and
You're
then
good.
John texts me back. He goes, "I'm dealing with the same thing. It's just retics. It's just retics."
You gotta love them, man. I think I interrupted you on that, and I apologize.
Oh no, you're good.
Um, One of the things we don't always think about though is the temperament and how fast, regardless of the size of these animals or what their
Hmm.
overall size is going to be. Um, we don't always think about the temperament or working them, and that's something that I've truly enjoyed watching you and Lucas do, and talking about it on your podcast, and really making me think about stuff. And so, what are some of the steps that you take to ensure that your animal stays calm and is used to the way that you work with them?
Um, Baseline is I need to go into the situation calm. Um, I need to focus on my breathing. I need no distractions. I've found the only times I've ever been bit or had anything go wrong is just when there's something distracting me, whether it's a phone call, whether it's trying to tape something, just being careless. So just putting my full attention to the task at hand and handling my retics. That's why you don't see me post pictures of my animals constantly. When I'm working with my animals, I'm right there with them. I need to do better at that because people should be seeing what I'm working with. Uh, but yeah, go into the situation calm. I personally hook train. So I go in there, I open the cage, I give a decent distance between myself and the animal, rub it on the head. Uh, for the most part, out of breeding season, rub it on the head. They know I'm coming in, take them out. They're good 99% of the time. Now, when their feed ramps up for breeding season and they just, are hungry all the time, I'll just go a little bit slower. Same process, but I'm working with them. I'm making sure they're moving forward and not being twitchy and trying to rear back at me. I just really take my time and work with them at their pace.
Nice. One of the things that I'd like to learn more about, and this is never something that I'll probably ever do. Retic breeding is just a little bit too aggressive for my liking.
Hmm.
And I already have some other passion projects that are going to take the space needed for that. But what are some of the things that you're looking for when you're introducing? What would cause you to potentially pull a male
Hmm.
before injury, things like that?
Okay, so my first breeding went too easy. The male was just a stud. He hated people but just loved to breed. So I would throw him in there and he would arch, throw all the good signs. So, smelling, not not bucking or hissing, throwing his body around, but just arching up on the cage and really riding the females back, spurring, or all the signs you want to see for breeding.
Okay.
Um, Now, last year when I tried with a male that was around 17, 18 months, just a little too young, I had one instance where I tried to pair up and my female inverted her, just inverted, and they'll scent. So they'll drag like urine and sometimes even blood across the paper. So once I saw her doing that, then I just pulled him. It's not worth any kind of violent interaction between the two.
So that's not a saying I'm ready. That's a defensive
Yeah, that's
posture.
yeah, it's saying, hey, just
It's like when they're musking us.
yeah, something's not right.
Makes sense. Okay. Um. So how big is your collection now?
Yeah, so at the peak, I had 25 when I hatched all the babies. Those got sent out to Pittsburgh pretty quick, and then my holdbacks came back. I only kept two just because I'm in a small 10 by 12 room, so about 120 square feet. I have
Feel the
six.
pain on that right now, brother. I feel that pain.
Yeah, I would love to expand, but it's not until I get a mortgage. So whatever. We'll get there eventually. But working with six animals right now. So two of my holdbacks, which are 50% Calitoa, 18.75 Jampea. Both of those are Golden Child, Platinum, Sun Tiger, Het Snows, 100% Het Snows. I have a Daniel Solis, 4.5-year-old tiger female. She's still super tiny. Most people, if they're really trying to push their animals, will try to breed at 4. I'm probably going to give her another year or two just to make sure she's fully mature before ever trying to pair her, just with how small she is. I mean, maybe less than a garden hose still. Then I have that male that I tried last year, which is a phantom tiger. He's 62.5% Calitoa. That's my only animal from Garrett over at Reach Out Reptiles. I got him after selling some of the clutch. That was kind of my reinvestment. And then I have my two foundational animals. So my purple, she's a 2016 from Eric Lee. Richard Bilbo and Aspen were the ones that kind of led me to Eric Lee at that time. So got her. She's probably the smaller of the two. She's right around 9 foot. And then I have a 2017 Annery female from Richard Bilbo. Both same genetics, so 75% Calitoa, 12.5% Jampea.
Very nice.
Yeah, so I'm hoping to get a first clutch from that Annery girl this year. I'd really like to see if she could prove head albino as well as that phantom tiger boy.
Okay. So I'm very familiar with like the very common morphs, obviously.
Yeah,
I know what is it? The Phantom and Orange Ghost Stripe, right?
yeah, that's
Cow.
your cow maker, and then phantom to phantom, you can get some leucistic stuff going. So like anyone, I think who gets into snakes and likes some of the morph stuff, they're gonna chase the white snake, and that's totally me. And the cow has always been big once I first found out about the cow. So I'm not gonna lie, I want to make my own cow, but from there I want to start looking at more locality specific projects, maybe working with some newer morphs if I can.
Okay. What locality specific are you really wanting to shoot with? Like,
Uh,
obviously you have it was Kalatoa, right?
yeah, so all of my stuff is high percent Kalatoa crosses.
Mhm.
So just the first thing I'm going to get is some kind of Kalatoa, probably Barry Leonard if I can. I just really like the high silver stuff. If I can get one with the open back, like some of the Barry Leonard stuff, then that would be even better. From there, if I want to add maybe some more color to it, I'm thinking maybe either Tombolongan or Ternate. Ternate, however you want to say it.
I don't know how to say it. I was just laughing because literally put it up like right before you said it.
Oh yeah, well, Lucas is all about the Ternate stuff. He has a boy that is just absolutely gorgeous that he just posted. I think it's the boy that he posted. I could be wrong.
So Harsh had a question, and it's actually something that I
Mhm.
was going to ask in the first place. I don't know if you caught that question, but what was it? 2 years ago, you had your back surgery. Now,
Yeah, so I'll kind of go over what happened with my back and then kind of tell you how uh, working with some of the larger snakes worked into that. So, um, April 2019, I was working at a barber expo here in Salt Lake. I'm a barber instructor by day. Our school had a booth out there, so we took a big barber chair. It's probably 350 pounds out. We had three guys to lift it into the expo. One of the big dudes that helped us lift it into the truck bailed on us on the way back. We had a couple beers at the expo, and we both thought, we got it. And I took all the weight of that barber chair coming out the truck. Uh, I'm going to go through this as fast as possible because it
oh,
was a
you're good,
nightmare.
brother. You're good.
So after that, had a couple herniated discs, did some physical therapy. That wasn't helping too much. So I got some injections. Injections ended up making it worse. I didn't know why. So I went back to my surgeon and I was like, hey, let's go for surgery. And that's when I found out that I had an infection in my spine.
Hmm.
So I had to be on IV antibiotics. It was a PICC line that goes from this artery on the inside of your arm. You probably know what a PICC line is, all the way to the entrance of your heart. And I was just being pumped with antibiotics 24/7. So felt like shit. Just had no energy, was super depressed just because, I'm stuck in the house, not being able to do anything, just quarantining before it was cool. uh, so during that time, I was able to mostly work with the animals on my own, just really, really slowly. And I have a fiance that was helping me through it quite a bit.
Awesome.
So she was in the room quite a bit. And then when the task came to breed was right around surgery time. So right as I'm about to go under the knife, I'm gearing up to breed. So let's see. I ended up calling one of my buddies who I'd met just in the local reptile community. He has, I think, 2 or 3 mainlands, and then he has a green anaconda. So I'm like, all right, if anyone's got this, it's Dwayne. So Dwayne would come over. He would
And
help
me
me.
neither. Dang.
He would
I
help
gotta
me.
get back out there. Sorry. Sorry.
Oh, you're good. You're good, man. He would help me mostly with the mail that was sent out to me just because he was sketchy. Um, he was so just nervous as a kid that he would push his face, and he pushed his face so bad that the front half of it just split in half. By the time he got to me, you couldn't even tell, but he was just a hands-off animal. You hook him, you get him into a tub, clean him, put him back into his tub. That was the only interaction he wanted. But um, even though he was like this little 6-foot snake, and I had this buddy who has anacondas and mainlands, he would get so wily that he would get out of his grasp, and we'd be both sitting there with hooks, just corralling him on the ground, just trying to play keep away. So um, I had a lot of help. That's probably the best answer I could give you. Um, my girls, I was mostly able to help Ariana just help me clean them most of the time. She would, do the heavy lifting, like taking the waters out of the cage, cleaning the waters, that kind of thing.
So when that really started up, was there? I know you don't want to stay on it too long, and I don't either. Like,
No, you're
obviously,
good.
I don't want to like, but I want to use it as kind of a learning tool for those that don't really understand the time that and energy that goes into even working one of these smaller snakes, right?
Hmm.
Um, was there ever a fear that because of that injury, it might be the end?
Uh, I think potentially I mean, I'd never experienced that level of pain in my life. But it also put in perspective how bad I wanted it. Um, there was no giving up at that time. And in an interview that we did with Brian Cusco, one of our first episodes, uh, he speaks of a guy he interviewed a few years ago that keeps retics and he's in a wheelchair, man. Like if you love these animals, you're gonna find a way.
100%.
That's so. I mean, I think I'm really happy with the path I'm on and keeping everything as small as possible. I think for me that's great. Um, but I mean, if I really wanted to keep a mainland, I'm sure that I would make it happen. It's just I'm realistic. I want to feel good, and I feel like this is kind of my sweet spot.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, 100% understand that. Was your wife always that hands-on with it, or was it just, or was she open to reptiles like right when it started, or was that something you had to like
So I moved
work
in with
into
her.
the?
I moved in with her before we were even dating. We were playing in a little band together. And so I had some ball pythons over at the house and, taking her to reptile shows. I eventually got her to get her own ball python. And, you know, she was a big reason that we got into retics. I don't think without some of her just helping me feel like it was okay to take home that I would have even had them. So yeah, I owe a lot to Richard, Ariana. Like she was just as obsessed as I was when we first interacted with them. So
That's awesome, man.
yeah,
That's
definitely. I'm the one that maintains our collection, but she loves these animals. She absolutely loves these animals.
that's refreshing to see. You don't see it with everyone. Like sometimes
She's coming to Tinley with me next week.
it's freaking awesome, man. I'm glad.
Yeah,
I remember when you guys came to Arlington. Like I was really hoping you were going to be at this last one because it's been,
it
I
was
think it's
just too
been like
close
2 years.
together. She was potentially going out to Dallas to do some stuff for the hair school she works with, but just stuff fell through the cracks, and it's an
So
extra $500 at least just to pull that trip off right before Tinley.
hold on, wait a second. You both lived together before you were in a relationship, and you both have the same job, and you both played in
Different
the
job,
band.
well, same job. Yeah, we have the same profession, different schools.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
You're working the market in your favor. I see.
Yeah, no, I've been cutting hair for, let's see, 11, yeah, 11 years, almost 12 years coming up next year. And then she got into it shortly after we started dating. And I would say she's more passionate about it at this point. She's an artist with it. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I was really looking forward to Cat's cut,
Hey,
but
we'll make it happen one of these days.
well, oh, for sure. If I got to come out to Salt Lake, I will. That used to be one of my stomping grounds, man.
Really? When were you out here last?
So, end of 19, I think. It was like right before I saw you at Arlington.
Really?
I used to come out there like 2, 3 times a month as a truck driver.
Okay.
And then I have a couple buddies that are into reptiles out there. I don't think they're as big as they used to be anymore. And then when I rode with a motorcycle club, we had some guys that were trying to start a chapter out there. So,
You've lived a couple different lives that I had no idea
oh,
about.
I've lived a very full life, sir. Very full. Yeah. So I love Salt Lake, minus like the main highway running through the center of it. Once you get away from that, it's wonderful.
Yeah, I'm pretty close to it, but it makes traveling around really easy. I'm 15 minutes from anywhere. I can get on any highway within like 2 minutes. So I'm like 5-10 minutes from the airport. I'm in like
Yeah.
I feel like the ideal spot. There's a little bit of culture change that I would like. A lot of homeless in the area, but besides that, we're in heaven out here. We can get out to the comedy club any weekend, and it's just nice being close to downtown.
So, knock knock.
Oh yeah, 1 second. Speak of the devil, 1 second. But go ahead. Let's ask away. Does anyone have another question?
So going with that, you said eventually, whenever you have a mortgage, you would like to expand it. How far would you like to see this expanded? And what do you think is manageable for just you?
1 second.
Oh, you're good, brother. You're good. What do you think's manageable for just you two? Or do you look at potentially growing to the point where it's like Garrett's, where you're going to have to start pulling in employees?
Slow. I want to do this thing slow. I'd like to maintain it as long as possible. Until I find someone that, is really passionate about wanting to, work with the animals, or, I want to feel right about pulling someone in, and I don't necessarily have the income to be doing anything like that right now. If anyone wanted to come and help, like just to get the experience, I would totally be down for it, but I just haven't had anyone express the interest yet. But yeah, as far as expansion goes, I mean, I want to do this as slow as possible. Work in animals, really get them established. I like to raise everything up, so I'm not trying to just pump out retics.
Nor should you. I think that's the fault, that regardless of species, a lot of us get that mindset at times, and we have to kind of pull in the reins. I really like how you're keeping it a passion project, and I wish more people did that. Not saying that I have that control myself, because obviously I dabble in ball pythons. So
hey, if I had the expendable income, I'd probably be doing this a lot faster. But I'm just trying to grow as naturally as possible, not try to overwhelm myself. I never want to feel like it's hard to feed the animals or provide anything for them. So it's just, I'm trying to be responsible. I want to make sure that these animals are what I want other people to be doing with my animals in the future, is keeping them for 15, 20 years, as long as I can possibly keep them healthy and alive in captivity.
Okay. Yeah. So everyone has this one point, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have the high and we have the low. So can you take a moment and explain what's been the best moment that you've had with reptiles so far that like sticks to you? And on the reverse side of that, what's been the worst aspect of reptiles for you up to this moment?
Let's see. Best part of reptiles is getting to walk into my snake room every day and just being blown away that I can look at these animals. I'm watching my hatchlings this entire podcast. Like, I'm just watching them cruise around and look for food, and they think they're getting fed just because I'm in here, but just being blown away at the beauty that I get to see just within my household every day. I think that's the best part of reptiles for me. My curiosity is always being piqued by them, whether it be a new species, whether it be retics. I'm really into tree monitors. There's always something to keep me going. I love the history behind reptiles. There's some great books out there. If anyone wants to read about the smuggling of reptiles, there's let's see, it's called Stolen World. And then there's a lead up to that called The Lizard King that I think anyone who's been in reptiles for a little while should read. It just is really eye-opening, and how some of these species ended up in the States. But yeah, my curiosity just is never ending with these animals. So that's the best part. My least favorite part is some of the drama that we all experience. Um, it's hard to see people be negative in a field that brings all of us just so much joy. So I would just like to see, especially in retics, just a little bit more of a cohesive community, one that's just there to help people based off their experiences, not hold back information, just be open, honest, and inviting, because there's a lot of people that just want to be gatekeepers in this community, and I don't think there's any good place for it.
It's frustrating to hear, man. As much as we preach about it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's extremely frustrating to hear. I know it was that way when I first got into reptiles and multiple species. And in fact, some of the rare passion projects that I'm looking at working in the future, I know I'm going to deal with a lot of that. How have you worked around that?
You know, I try to just not engage as much as possible. I think everyone's guilty of engaging it a time or two, just when they feel like someone's crossed a line. But I try to refrain from that as much as possible. I try to keep any of my personal life out of any of my business page. I don't want anyone, having to hear about my struggles or anything like that. I'm here to show you guys my animals and like show you what brings me joy. So I think just trying to be the example that I want in the community. I think Lucas from the podcast would say the exact same thing. With the Retic Lounge, that was a big thing we were looking for, was to build a community of people that are just looking to be open and honest about some of their experiences, whether it be experienced breeders or people brand new to this. And so far, we've built an awesome community where we've either gotten to help people or just talk about the animals we have. And so far, it's been nothing but positive. So it's been great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, since we've talked about it a little bit, and you've now kind of half answered what my first question was.
I'm good
what
at doing
brought
that.
you two together, for one, and then what made you decide to do a podcast versus all the other means of building a community?
So I'm kind of a quiet, reserved person. You'll never see me like posting videos talking to the camera on stories or anything like that. It took a lot for me to be comfortable with doing the podcast. So I blame Lucas 100%.
Hold on. I have to interrupt this. So
Okay.
Before we get this far, I'm going to tell you guys right now, I saw Nathan at Arlington and I did not say hi to him because I didn't know him personally yet. He came running up to me. As much as he is a nervous person, how much beer does it take to make you put your guard down? Because that's what it had to be.
Only one or two. I'm not a huge drinker. If I've
You were just
smoked,
in your happy spot.
yeah, I mean, I guess so, because that was my first NARBC show. I was just high on it. I was probably a White Claw or two deep. I won't lie, but I do feel like I'm a little bit like an introverted extrovert. So like if I see you in person, I feel like I know who you are. I'm going to approach you. But I feel like also at that Arlington show, there were a bunch of people that I like loosely knew, but I was like, I can't introduce myself. So, but yeah, I totally blame Lucas.
I'm not gonna lie, you threw me so off guard when we were at the auction. You just came like running up, and I was just like, I had like way more energy than I'm prepared for right now. It's been a long.
Oh, I think I had a few more than a couple White Claws by the auction. I think I saw you at the show and the auction, but yeah, Phil Thompson and his wife took us out to the auction that night, and yeah, we were having a good old time.
Okay. So I'm sorry. I had to bring that up because you said you were like you're very reserved.
You're like,
I was
I
like,
call bullshit.
the Nathan I freaking met was not reserved. This man was like giving me hugs and came up behind me, like caught
No,
me
but
off
that's because
guard.
I know what kind of person you are, right? Like I've just got to experience you through like I can't remember quite where we first met, whether it be Garrett's community, Brian's community, whatever it was, but you know, you were just always such a positive person in the community. So I was like, cool, I get to meet John.
Fooled you. Fooled every. No, I'm just playing. I'm just playing. I try to be. I try to be. But so let's jump back to your overall goals for the podcast. Like
Yeah.
what brought you and Lucas together, and what were the goals for that podcast once you decided, okay, well this is because what you were saying is it seems like you could kind of control the environment. So it's a little bit easier for you both to get what you want
Hmm.
out of it, I guess.
Yeah, and we definitely don't want to be like those gatekeepers, but we're definitely looking for a specific community, I guess. So Lucas was always just kind of a big cheerleader of mine. When I first started that pairing, he was, you know, just within a year or two of getting into Retics after doing a ton of research and really just wanting to get into doing stuff with different localities. So we had talked quite a bit during the pairing portion. He was super curious. I think he was watching breeding cams back then when I had him set up. Uh, so he was just kind of always there for me, being super cool. Um, Always just cheering me on. And just after talking for a while, he called me up one day and he goes, "Hey man, I've been thinking about, you know, starting this podcast. I feel like there's this gap in the community. Like there's a lot of good information out there, but like maybe we can bring something new to people that are just getting into this or people that are just a couple steps behind us." One thing Garrett has always preached in some of his earlier videos is reach out to that person who's that step in front of you. Don't always think that you need to go to the biggest breeder to get your information. Go to that person that's just a couple steps ahead of you in the process. Learn from them. So we're trying to give back in that same sense to the community. So that's our biggest goal with the Retic Lounge.
I freaking love that.
Yeah, just experience driven content.
So we're on, what is it? Episode 7 came out yesterday.
7 came out yesterday. I think we have 9 or 10 ready to go. So yeah, we're trying to bank stuff as much as possible. Shooting exclusive content. I know Lucas got to sit down with one of your sponsors, Ryan McVeigh, at the Arlington show. Got to do a little fireside chat all about all the UVV stuff that he's got to offer. So, you know, just trying to add as much value as we can.
That's going to be something huge. Like there's some other people working projects with them as well that they're figuring out ways to put it into racks and everything. Like individual tubs will have a way to admit their own dimmable feature and all of it. Like there's so much in the future coming from that I've been privy to, but I can't put everything out, and I'm so freaking excited.
This is a good time to remind everyone to donate to his GoFundMe. I know you said it at the top of the show, but I need to see Ryan this weekend at Tinley, so donate. I know that's selfish of me, but I need to hang out.
Oh, absolutely.
And he
Every
needs the
time.
funds.
So what kind of, I understand that you're trying to like kind of catalog stuff and bring people to Retics, but what would you say is the overall theme of your episodes? Like, do you guys sit there and just decide, well, I think this would be the next step that someone should learn, or how do you guys decide how to
I think it's just hot topics that we've seen within the community through the years that we've both been involved. So, you know, we'll try to cover the hot topic stuff, and then we'll also, I think a big focus for us is doing interviews not only with just some of the big breeders, but some of the guys that are just coming up in the hobby right now. Just some names you might not necessarily know, but are going to be important in a couple years.
Mm,
And Lucas is getting mad at us. It's UVA, damn it.
it's not just UVA, it's full spectrum, damn
Full
it.
spectrum, damn it. Oh yeah, there's your response.
So
Wow.
it's UVA, UVB. The only thing they removed from it, obviously, is UVC, which is harmful to reptiles. It makes them, I forget how it interacts with the calcium and stuff, but it's actually like poisonous to reptiles if they get too much UVC. But that's going way beyond what I can articulate properly.
I know. I'm like,
I have
I
a very
can't speak
simple
on
base on that.
this.
Yeah. I have a very simple base on that, so I can't go too deep into
Yeah.
it. I'll leave that to Ryan. But how are you keeping yours? Like, you're doing predominantly enclosures, right? I think that's what I
Uh,
read from.
only right now. So I'm working with 3 4x2 enclosures. And then I'm working with a couple larger 4x2x30 enclosures. So the 4x2s, they're only a little over a foot tall. So I do most of my smaller stuff in that. And then Lucas, oh my Lord. Most of my smaller grow up stuff in there. I think if I do tubs, it's going to be for any of the animals that either have a harder time in enclosures. There's definitely animals that seem to push more. I have one male that I could see transferring to an FB70 once he's big enough, but I just want to keep him as, I don't know, tight as possible. I give him a hide. He's only a yearling. He's maybe a couple feet long, so he's in a 2x2 enclosure right now. Plenty of space, but I think if I gave him that FB70, he'd get a little nervous, just a little too much space. So I'm gonna give him maybe another year, throw him in that. I really like what Lucas is doing though. He has those big vision tubs, those big vision racks that have the glass on the front. I think that's something I would look into in the future. But right now it's boaphile and animal plastics.
Nothing wrong with that. Everyone uses what they can get their hands on at times.
Yeah.
Regardless of how you feel. Like I've been through so many different racks and tanks, because God help me with tanks, man. Like I finally almost have them all gone, minus like for the beardy or the geckos.
Yeah, I don't miss the tank days, that's for sure.
Yeah, PVC is so much better. So much better.
Yeah, luckily everything's PVC in here. Did the igloo style incubator just like Garrett. I think I would change that up to a sea serpents just to save some space because, like I said, 120 square foot, that big igloo container just takes up so much space. I'm like, wow, I could put some cages there.
Okay. I mean, there's just so much you can do with them too. Like after listening to you guys, one of the things I really want to do, obviously, like you guys both
ARS,
talk
not
about,
vision. Lucas is just going to correct us all night.
yeah, it's gonna happen. That's just his mentality. Still love you, buddy. Still love you. So one of the things that I'm really looking for, oh man, that piss is getting bad. Is making it more naturalistic and giving her more hides. And even though she's a mainland, like obviously now that she has the room, and I'm gonna say this first and foremost, like you guys do your research. The enclosure should come before the animal, in my
100%.
opinion. A lot of people do it the way I did, and I very much so regret it. And I know I'm gonna see stunted growth from her because of how long I had her in something too small. But now I want her to use all of it because she was so used to being in something small that you could see it in her demeanor now that I've given her space to really do stuff. Like she still cruises through, but
I'd say just provide some big hides and just, if she was in something tight, just give her some tight spaces. Have to shout out Jake Klotz, who's in the house. Really excited to meet him this weekend. Just watching some of his productions over the years. I mean, he produces some of the coolest animals in
very
retics.
beautiful
So
animals.
yeah, really excited. He said AP incubators are phenomenal too. So I'll have to give those a peek.
I don't know, man. I really like Garrett's, and I know
No,
you
I
tried
had
it,
great
and I
success
like
with
the
them.
way he does that, man.
I think the idea behind them is super solid, especially with incubating retic eggs. So, I can't complain with 100% hatch rate out of my first clutch, but it's purely just space at this point.
You're good. Keep going. Sorry.
Uh, that's all I had on,
I
on
lost my
the
freaking bottle. Okay. I lost my water. Oh, doesn't matter. Yeah. So let's dive into. We've talked about you. I am gonna take a stab at you right now. 'Cause
Okay.
you've been at this for a little bit, man.
Yeah.
Where's the freaking logo?
Uh, I've had a couple that I've made. Um, it's just I haven't shoved out some cash for it quite yet.
I feel
Uh,
you on that. I feel you on that. I
since we
looked
work,
so hard for it. I was like, I
we
know
work
he's had one at one point. Like,
so and part of it too is I'm not totally in love with my name, my branding, all of that. I would love to totally rebrand and do it right. Um, but I also respect the guys that just, rock their name. So I don't know. We'll see what the future holds. I would love to maybe just have a simple temporary logo made. We work really closely with Adler doing some podcast stuff. He helps us with just a little bit of back end. So maybe I need to bug him a little bit and see if he can whip me up something just to as a placeholder for now, and then we can look at rebranding in the future. But
so
hey, we have the Retic Lounge logo. We have stickers going out. Some people at Tinley are gonna get them. So
there you go.
like,
There. Wait a
I'm
second.
trying to
Wait a
make up for
second.
lost time. I
Where
promise,
where
guys.
were they at Arlington? You got to do
Well, the
all your
podcast
releases
wasn't
at
even
Tinley, huh?
incubating yet.
Uh, oh man, that's funny. So let's jump into it. There's a couple of things that retics do that I feel with your years you now probably have experience with in one way or another. And let's talk about some of the common problems that you see in retics as far as like pushing and things of that nature,
Pushing's
and
the biggest one.
what to look for and what kind of sets that off so that those that are looking into it, if you come here before the retic lounge, I'm sorry, you're not going to get a lot of retic information, but here you go. If you stay this long into it, give you a little
So
bit of info.
yeah, let's get into it a little bit, I guess. So pushing's number one. If anyone's having an issue with pushing, first thing you should be doing is grabbing your temp gun and reading all the temps in your enclosure, reading every inch of it, just seeing what your hottest spot is. Uh, right now, I try to keep everything close to like 86 and a half, maybe 87 on the hot spot at the highest. And then I just watch my animals. If I notice one of them's pushing, I'll lower the temp a little bit. They can take a tiny bit lower. They're going to be okay. So I think it's just really watching your animals, dialing in their husbandry, making sure their temperatures are right. Obviously, food can set them off too. They can be looking for food and push. I notice if I'm sitting in the room and podcasting for a little bit and I haven't fed in maybe 5 days, I'll get the hatchlings pushing a little bit, but
The
for
quick like slide across.
find the corner, just see their head in the top and just have to shake my head. So if you ever see me just shaking my head, it's probably what's happening. But you know, I say just watch your animals if they're doing anything like that. Watch your temps first. I never say just throw a meal at it until they stop pushing. I don't, you know, I don't believe in overfeeding your retics. I think you should be really maintenance feeding your retics and making sure they're these long, lean animals like they're supposed to be.
Is there a variant between adults and hatchlings
As far as body tone,
as far as temps? Like, do
temps,
you
no,
want to keep hatchlings a little bit warmer or no?
no, I keep everything about the same temp. Yeah. Yeah. If, like I said, if I notice a specific animal is pushing at a temp that maybe the other snakes are at, I'll drop the temp down, see if that's the issue. I've definitely had that in the past, but you know, most of the time you drop that temp down a degree or two and it's fine.
Well, I'm a dumb ball python guy, so I just
Yeah. I mean, that's
it's
the
stuff I
very
have to
first
ask,
thing.
'cause it's stuff that I wondered about raising these. So I had 7 mainlands at one time.
Well,
All
and then I'm going to
all
ask
the
you,
same, but I quickly found out it's a lot of work.
yeah. Well, and then I'm going to ask you, like, past the temps, like, there's more that goes into it than just temps, obviously. You could have a nervous animal that's just not comfortable in its enclosure. So offering more hides, more spaces for that animal to feel like it can get away from you. Uh, I would ask you what your feeding schedule has been like. And if it's maybe been too spaced out, I would maybe then offer a meal. But I don't like to just, like I said, throw a meal in front of it. So those few things I'm going to do way before just offering hides, lower temperatures, that kind of thing. Maybe a little exercise outside the cage. Maybe you just have an animal that, you know, needs a little bit of interaction.
So outside of what we just, well, not outside of it, but speaking of that, to the body tone, what is, because we see predominantly obese retics. Like, I'm not saying it comes from you guys, but if you're looking on social media, because everyone wants that wow factor that the retic should give you in the first place, just based off of pattern, temperament, and things like that. What would you say is the proper body tone for a retic?
Really long and lean. Like, you shouldn't be able to fully see the spine, but you should be able to see the spine structure, like the top of it. You should be able to see those nice side strap muscles. I don't want to see any like extra fat, like kind of folding over, that kind of thing. I don't want to see a really thick tail. Like, these animals are athletic. They're climbing in the trees. They're semi-arboreal. You know, they're the Michael Jordan of snakes. Just really nice, long and lean.
Okay.
That's what I want out of my animals, and so far I'm pretty happy with the tone of even my adults. So
And
yeah.
then what would you put down as a typical feed schedule for them?
It varies. So hatchlings, for the first year, it's going to be about every 7 days. From there, 7 to 10 days, just depending. Um, from there, it's going to get spaced out a little bit, like 10 to 14 days. Once they reach maturity, then it's going to be 3 weeks to a month in between
Really?
feedings. Yep. 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 I'd say
I wouldn't
about
have thought that.
21 days is what I shoot for. And if I, you know, there's sometimes that I go over by a few days, but as
Is
long
that
as I keep it
still with
between
like,
3 and 4 weeks, I've been pretty happy with how my animals have been maintained.
what, as far as the prey item, what's the size of that based off of like body structure?
So I kind of think of the prey I offer in the same way. I want my prey to be pretty lean. Um, I would like to offer maybe a little bit more variety. Right now, I start everything on mice, work up to little rat pups, and then as soon as I can, I try to get them on rabbit kits. And then most of the time, just with local supply, I'm able to get rabbits pretty easily. So I try to feed everything rabbits if possible. I have one male that's seems to not enjoy rabbits like the rest of them, so I give him mostly rats. But offering quail in the future, maybe some chicken for some of the bigger girls, I think that could be cool just to throw some variety in their diet. But for right now, I love rabbits just because they're nice, lean animals, not a ton of fat on them when they start getting bigger. Biggest rabbit I feed's about 2.5, maybe 3 pounds if I'm feeding a really big meal.
Okay. Stuff to take into thought. Like I understand other people that do it. So when you said variety, I was kind of curious in how you were doing it.
I know
A
guys
lot of,
that do Reptilinks, like that have
really,
like even the iguana blend that they'll throw at their retics. So you can,
I wouldn't have thought that.
they're garbage disposals. They'll take anything. Yeah.
That's fair.
Or at least most of them. You'll get a select few.
Okay. I think I'm gonna play with that on her next meal then. So she's had predominantly breeder rats at this point. I mean, she's 9 foot, and I try to give it like every 2 weeks. I didn't push it out. I think I should probably space it out a little bit more now. Talking to you, um, seeing a lot of growth in every area though. Now that she could stretch out though, so
How
I'm
old
happy
is she?
about this is gonna sound really bad. She's 5 years old.
That's not bad. Huh.
Yeah. So she's about 9 foot, and I would say to be honest, I couldn't tell you how much she weighs, but
I mean, from pictures I've seen, she looks healthy. She looks like she's not pushing or anything like that. So, I mean, as long as she's healthy and thriving, like, you know, maintain her as best you can and just keep her healthy.
I'm enjoying it for the long haul. I'm okay with her just doing her thing as long as I don't shorten her life.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't think rats necessarily could shorten their life. I mean, I'm sure you can
No,
feed
I
rats
just mean on
healthily
like
throughout its life, but
the fat, because obviously rats are. I don't think a lot of people realize this, but there's a reason we feed rats, like the Norwegian rats and ASFs, to ball pythons for those that are ball python breeders, and that's because of the fat content. Because it helps them put on and maintain that weight longer.
yeah, but there's
And I
certain
didn't think
times that
about
you kind of want that for your retic though, right?
that.
Because
Right.
you want caloric intake and a little bit of extra fat maybe during the breeding season or maybe right after she's laid to get some weight back on. Also, a big rabbit goes a long way there, but it's always an option and it's never a bad thing to just change it up.
Right, right. No, I hear you. I hear you. That's what I was saying. Like I think starting up. I'm scared about that though, because if it's anything like my Dane, so anything poultry, just absolutely decimates their stomach. Um, and I
I've
know
heard it
some
can get
people that have
messy.
said, yeah, some people have said birds mess
I've
up.
heard pigs can get really messy too.
I'm
I
not
ha-
ready for that, dude. I'm not ready to clean painted glass.
you know, I feel like I'm ready for anything with some of the messes I've been thrown with these retics. I feel like I'm working in a stable sometimes, cleaning the messes I am.
Well, I'm not saying that she doesn't make a mess, but like I think her body's so used to the diet that she's on right now. It's very much so. I know if she's not feeling good or something like that now, based off of the smell or like the way her poop looks before she would show any other sign. Like I could pick up on it pretty quick because I'll be honest, it's like watching my Great Dane shit, but whatever.
Yep, truly.
Yeah, yeah. But enough about snake poop. We talked about kind of what your goals are. We've talked about the podcast. I love what you guys are doing. You have my full support on it. I
Thank you,
look
man.
forward to all the episodes you guys bring out. One of the big things that I like to kind of wrap up with is looking at goals, and we kind of talked about it with you taking it slow. But if you had to take Whether it's like the size of your collection or a specific bloodline that you were working with, or whatever it is within the realm of retics right now, what would you say your utmost goal is at this current time?
Utmost goal is to build this thing to where I don't have to work at the school anymore. Um, I would love to put all my time and energy into just maintaining my animals and then doing hair as a side passion, just
Nice.
doing it for the people I really want to be around. Uh, Working at a school with young kids, it's exhausting, man. Especially post COVID, they're entitled and it's awful.
How's
So
that?
I would love to make this thing full time. I think that's a big goal of mine, um, more than anything. But like I said, I'm not going to try to do it faster than I can really take it on.
Heck yeah. I like
Goal
that.
goal for the podcast is just continue on the track that we are. Keep finding valuable members in this community that feel like they can learn a little bit from us and give back a little bit. Hopefully, people like ourselves, Duran, Jake, just Chris McVickers, Eric Lee, just some of these people that have been nothing but courteous and kind in the community. I just want to see more of that. So that's what the goal of the Retic Lounge is.
I like it, man. I like it. Another big goal I think we all should have, and I'm going to do it. And I was a bad kid and didn't do this at the start. Obviously, supporting USARK. We as ball python people talk a lot of shit to retic people. I know the people I bring on are huge advocates for USARK.
Absolutely.
But we, as well as USARK Florida, we all have to do our part, guys. I don't really, I don't know how to say this stuff without kind of coming off condescending sometimes. Um, we are constantly under attack, and we do our best to uh, kind of get away from that and just have fun with this. But you got to understand that this is obviously an industry that is still felt as very taboo, um, and hopefully it'll be seen differently one day. But while that happens, obviously your wildlife and things like that are always going to be attacking those keeping privately versus like the AZAs and things like that.
Yeah.
Um,
And if you're in the
I'll
Retic
support-
community, USARK is the biggest proponent for us to keep the animals that we love. I want to add one thing. If you're in the community, you own Retics, just represent us in the best light possible. Really think about what you're posting before you post it, whether it be a negative handling experience, a bite, whatever. Just really think about how that can affect us as a whole. I know it's fun to share experiences, but USARK has done a lot for us to really fight against these animals being taken away. So let's not give them any ammunition, and
100%.
let's
Wait,
support USARK as
you
much as
mean I'm
possible.
not supposed to trend and go viral because I placed a prey item on a tank with a retic in it and then let it go? And then said, "Oh, it grabbed my arm. It grabbed my arm," and have 4 people videoing it.
And yeah,
I
and
love
that
that.
video to be reshared
I
and
love that
reshared. Yeah,
so
it's
much.
yeah, it's not good. So just think about what you're posting, but most of all, just support USARK. Really watch out for any of the newsletters that are coming out. Watch out for any of the alerts that come out,
Hit the
and
auctions. Like,
go to the
I don't think
auctions.
people realize how fun those are, man.
Oh,
Like,
they are
so many
so
people don't
great.
go. So many people don't go. I love them. Like,
Yep,
that's
second one this weekend, and I can't wait.
I get in trouble. Like, I'm not allowed to drink until the auction anymore because we get about halfway and I'm just like, I don't care. I'm gonna see how long I can take it.
I'm nervous. I'm not gonna
It's,
lie
it's
to
good, man. It's good. So that rush you get, I have a gambling issue, I think. Like, I
you.
don't gamble with like friends or in casinos, but I think I have a gambling issue because I like to play odds.
I have a reptile gambling issue.
Oh, it's beneficial. Look at But yeah, like go to the auctions, donate like this. You'd be surprised like what the smallest donation will end up bringing in, and everything helps. Like you got to think at a federal level when these guys had to do a federal case, just to go to the courts is $1 million. Like just to be heard, which is insane amounts of money to most of us, but without us constantly supporting them, they're not going to be able to do that for us. And USARK Florida, they're going through it right now, obviously, with the hurricane and all that, and trying to still build up and fight locally. I don't think a lot of people also realize that if we're not supporting them, that's your main inlet for a lot of species, for one. You also have two of the largest distributors for both wholesale and like stores nationwide out of Florida. So if they shut down Florida, they essentially could shut down the majority of the hobby in one swoop. So make sure you're taking some time. All the links for USARK, minus their YouTube channel. I have to put that back down below. I didn't do that this time, but we'll get that down below as well. Make sure you're just supporting them. Make sure you're supporting Nate. He did, I think, a freaking fantastic job for being live, and I really like it, man. I like everything that you're doing. I love your energy. I'm really excited to see where Super Dwarfs go with you.
Thanks, man. That's
Already
really
turned into a lot.
reaffirming and fuels my fire. So I appreciate that.
And if you let the Retic Lounge go, I am going to drive to Salt Lake and we're gonna have words. I'm just
No, man. Lucas is heavily invested. I am
good,
heavily
good.
invested. Like this is something that I never would have seen myself doing, but I am so happy that he pushed ourselves to be here. I pushed him to be on YouTube. So I think it's just a good thing all around, and I'm overjoyed with how it's been.
Heck yeah. All right. I hope you guys enjoyed Nate tonight as much as I did. I promised him like an hour 30, and we're at that point. Make sure you give him some love. Go check out the Retic Lounge. Go check out his Instagram. I didn't throw his Facebook up there. I'll get that down there below. Where can we find you if we want to reach out to you?
Facebook, Instagram are the two biggest places. Watch out for the Retic Lounge on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you watch podcasts, any of the major platforms, we're on there. But YouTube's my preferred method. That way you can really see what's going on. We have a Patreon community at the Retic Lounge. If you want a little bit more back access, please join us there. But yeah, Katz Reptiles on Instagram, Nathan Katz on Facebook. Reach out to me anytime. I'm an open book.
Brother, I appreciate you so much. You guys make sure you go check him out. Go check out USARK and look at his style. He chose a very, very, he chose the thumbnail picture. I'll say that. But
Yeah.
I love the photography that you do with your animals.
Oh, so I have to do a little backstory on that. So anyone who knows what Pit Viper sunglasses are, their facility is just down the road from me, and they reached out and wanted to do a little photo shoot a couple of years ago. So brought out my purple girl, and we got to do some really fun stuff with a merch drop they were doing, and yeah, it was cool.
That's freaking awesome.
Yeah, so I love those pictures, man. Any kind of professional pictures I get with me and the snakes, I'm all for it.
I think that should be a norm.
We all need to get our Britney Spears on every once in a while, right?
Yeah. That's awesome, brother. All right. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this weekend. We are getting back at it. Next weekend, we're going to have a podcast episode, potentially pre-recorded. So, like I said, I'll be doing the Odessa show for Show Me Snakes, and you have Reptiles After Dark. So the time that we would usually run the podcast, I'll still be dealing with customers, and I don't want to skip any more weeks this year. So we're going to have a pre-recorded episode more than likely next week, but make sure you guys check that out. Thank you all for your continued support in this. I really appreciate you all, and we'll see you on the next one. There, guys.